do the show. So remember, folks, live 8 p.m. Eastern Time now, Tuesday through Thursday for the Brow Report radio show. Lots of topics to talk about tonight. Talk about Syrian refugee crisis. What does it mean for the United States and Europe? Western-style democracies are under fire. We're talking about presidential politics tonight. We're talking about Walker and Perry, the fallout from them falling out of the race. And we'll be talking about the Afghan crisis. There's an Afghan crisis, which is very sickening. We talked about it last night on the show, but it's worth talking about again. And much, much more tonight. A lot of presidential politics tonight. But remember, folks, at the end of the show, you always get the feel-good story of the day. Because you know why? The people demand the feel-good story, and you need something good after we talk about so many serious things. And also, one thing that I really like talking about is economics. We're talking about the Chinese economy. Is it on a death spiral? We're going to have an article about that, and we've been talking about this for months on the program. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And go to twitter.com right now. If you're watching on Periscope and you're listening on Blog Talk Radio Live, go to twitter.com/Brower Report. Just like the name of the show. You're going to see a Periscope link as my most recent tweet. Share that so people can watch the show. We are not this millionaire, billionaire type of corporation. This is a grassroots effort to get knowledge out to the people. And that's what we like to do on the show, is talk about things that really matter, not reality TV, not watching the Kardashians or Caitlyn or Bruce or whatever his name or she's name is lately. We're going to talk about real things that really matter to you, the American people. Joining me tonight on the Wednesday night edition of the program, Bill Sederberg. How are you doing tonight, Bill?
Good, Matt. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Got lots to talk about, lots of cool, good topics. A lot of topics that will be very serious, but we're going to have the feel-good story of the day at the end of the night, which makes everybody feel good because we need a pick-me-up at the end of the day.
Warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, get the warm and fuzzies after the feel-good story of the day. All right, so first topic on the agenda tonight, because we do have agendas on the show. We are not just this fly-by-night. Oh, we kind of are. A radio show sometimes. But we've got several topics that we want to do. First off, the Syrian refugee crisis. And Bill, this thing is getting way out of control now. We've seen the videos. And if you haven't seen the videos, folks, go to YouTube. Go online. Look at these videos. These are military-age guys that are going into Western and Eastern Europe. And they're not bringing their wives, they're not bringing their kids, they're not bringing anybody except for themselves, and they're rioting, destroying property. I mean, Bill, tell me this. Would you want 100,000 of these wonderful people coming into the United States?
Absolutely not. I know Secretary Kerry wants to bring in, I think, like 75,000 this year, another 100,000 next year. The people that are coming in there are some refugees, but there is a lot of Islamists that are infiltrating these refugee groups that are going to try to put their sick madness into Europe. Europe's been very complicit for a long time with not complicit, but complacent with how they treat the fairness of everybody, and it's going to come around and bite them, and it's going to cascade through this country as well. I read a story today that sickened me. There's a elementary school that these kids, the immigrants that are coming through, the refugees, the boys are harassing the girls, the little white girls, talking about their dress, grabbing them in the crotch, grabbing them in the chest, being very disrespectful to the teachers, saying that the women are only good for, having sex, and we pass them along to some other guy. So it's going to be that culture coming in, and if Europe doesn't put some sort of drastic measures in place, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And it's kind of like the dawn of World War I. The refugees and the people going through, and just the hot. The different European countries are being divided with which way they're going to vote. Do they want to have these refugees? Do they want to lock down their borders? So it's going to be very divisive and very scary coming up. Some scary days are coming ahead.
Here's the thing, Bill. I have compassion for situations that are beyond people's control. I do. And I don't want to sound this heartless conservative guy that doesn't care about people. I do. But here's the thing. If you don't care about your friends and your family first before you start giving away everything to other people, that's national suicide. We are looking at taking in reports 70 to 100,000 refugees from the Syrian conflict. And here's what I posed to President Obama. And President Obama doesn't watch the show because he doesn't want news and views that he can use, because he actually would have a decent presidency. So President Obama is actually taking in Muslim refugees. Where's the Christians at, Bill? And I pose this question, and maybe you've got the answer, Bill. I don't have it. Where are the Christian refugees at? Because I don't see them.
Well, one of the things, they're in hiding. They're being forced to sign pledges to convert or not, practice their religion, which ultimately is going to end up getting them killed. Beck was talking about, I don't know if you've seen this story, but he's getting a group together already overseas to bring Christians over to Mexico. Beck is going to fly into Mexico, and they're going to walk across the border. So he's going to try to rescue at least 1,000 Christians. He's petitioned the State Department, asked for, we're bringing these Syrian Muslims in. What about the Christians? They say, maybe sometime next year or the year after. By then, it's going to be too late. So he wants to take matters into his own hands. He's looking to raise $10 million by the end of December to bring Christians over. That's going to be interesting to see. You got all the illegal immigrants flooding across the border. What's going to happen whenever he just tries to walk across the bridge? If that happens, it's going to be one of those greatest moments in history. I foresee if that does take place. It'll be interesting reactions as a country, how they're going to react to somebody trying to save, the Christians that are being persecuted all over the Middle East. There's really no safe harbor, especially in Iraq, Syria. They're just being persecuted, murdered, children are being killed. It's a sick time right now.
It really is. It really is. And folks, if you've got an opinion, we want to hear your opinion on the show. We're not going to attack you for your opinion. We want to hear from you. So if you're listening live on blogtalkradio.com, or if you're watching Periscope and you want to give a call to us, feel free. 347-884-8627 is the number. Give us a call. 347-884-8627 to join the Brower Report live tonight on the show. I keep looking at the Syrian refugee thing, Bill, and I want to be able to help people, but here's the thing. You can't keep on running from situations. You just can't keep running from where you're from and hoping something will change. And every time, Bill, and maybe I've got this wrong, but I'm looking at history. I'm looking at all these times these refugees come over. I always hear people complain when they get here. I want my Muslim holidays. I want things that happened in my former country. Well, here's the thing. You ran to the United States of America. We welcomed you in. And this happened, I think, in New Jersey this week, where a bunch of Muslims just showed up at this I guess, school board meeting. And they're saying, we want the holiday off. 6 days, keep in mind, Bill, 6 days before it was supposed to happen. They're demanding it off, and they're like, well, we just can't do that for you because people will have to find childcare and rearrange their schedules. You just cannot demand things. When people come from other countries, if you liked it so damn much, and I'm not trying to be mean about it, Bill, but if you loved it so much, you want to bring your culture here and do the things you used to do where you're from, then why in the hell did you come here in the first place? And that's when I go back to this. Is it an invasion? Is it an invasion of the United States? Trying to change the way the United States is by, demanding things, equal rights, equal opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I'm really just getting sick and tired of it. What's happening all the time. What do you think?
And with the PC culture these days, people are so afraid to say anything. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And by the time folks realize that this is actually happening, and there's implementation of, different holidays that are, not in tradition with American values, it's going to be a very, very dark day for this country. I know at the school board meeting they were talking, they said, don't worry, we're going to be a majority soon.
Mm-hmm.
That frightens me to death. I don't want to live in a Muslim country. I live in the United States of America. I know, when my grandfather came over from the Ukraine and, my grandmother came over from Lithuania back, in 1918, 1915 era, they came in and they learned English. They learned to assimilate themselves into the American culture. They kept their own culture at home. So if somebody wants to practice, there might be, let's say, school of 1,000 kids, there's 5 Muslim children. It's not fair to the other 995 children to force the minorities 5 onto them. That's not how it works. So it's something that if we're going to bring people in, these Muslim people from Syria, number one, hopefully they're vetted. Hopefully I know they have fake passports and stuff being made, and they're finding all this stuff over in Europe, but hopefully they're vetted. It's going to turn around and bite us in the ass, I think. And it's sickening that this president and this administration are perpetrating it. They want, in my mind, this is just my opinion, it feels like they want to see the downfall of this country and make it into a third-rate country and have everybody on the equal level playing field of Europe and everybody's kumbaya, but it's not going to turn out that well. It's going to turn out horribly bad. As Europe explodes and as these refugees come into Europe, when you get the destabilization of the economies over there, there's going to be a ripple effect over here. It's going to be a global disaster in the making.
It is. It is. And let's look at Germany for a second, Bill. This all started, this Syrian refugee crisis, and there's others coming from northern Africa as well, crossing the Mediterranean. This started when the Germans, they need more people. They've lost 2 to 3 million people over the past, I believe, around 3 to 4 years in their population. So they're looking for a population driver. The problem is when you're bringing in refugees that are not, and I'm telling you right now, Bill, this is almost a guaranteed lock it. You can go to Vegas and bet on it and win every day of the week. These people will not assimilate into German culture. They simply won't. They will also go on social welfare programs in Germany if available, and they will live in their own small communities. These people do not, and I'm not trying to say bad things about them. It's just we know history. We know that they are socially and economically not European. They're poor, generally uneducated people that are running from poverty, and they're going to try to run to a industrialized nation like Germany, and Germany's going to get stuck with a bunch of terrorism. I'm sorry. And here's the thing, Bill. Who in the hell thought this was a good idea to invite a bunch of people that are not, they're not going to assimilate into German culture? Look at the United States. For generations, we have people that have assimilated into, American culture. Yet we continue to bring people in. We used to be the melting pot. You learned English, you got a job. Now you're poor. You come here and get automatically on food stamps, public housing, welfare, Medicaid. We are the dumping ground. And one example, Bill, you probably know this one. The boat lift in Cuba back in the 80s. Fidel Castro dumped mentally ill people and prisoners on us during that boat lift. That's what he did.
Yep.
That's what he did. And guess what? The Pope visited there. And the Pope is like trying to talk to these people like they're actually nice people. He's visiting a country. We're normalized relations, Bill, with a country like Cuba that murders people, that takes political prisoners, no freedom of press, no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion, for crying out loud. There's no freedom there. And we are normalizing relations with a third world communist nation that has been isolated, not because of its people, Bill, but because of its government.
Right, and it's anything with communism or any of those, any dictatorship, any totalitarian rule, they're going to push down the people. They're not going to have any sort of freedoms, like you said. The people coming over, from Syria. They're being planted in places strategically around this country. And hopefully the feds are keeping an eye on them. I don't have a lot of faith that that's happening, and I'm scared to death that, we're going to wake up one morning, turn on the news, and there's going to be a tragedy that's happened. Something 9/11-ish, maybe multiple things. And people are going to say, well, how did this happen? How did this happen? And people are still going to be afraid to say, we let all these terrorists in. There's still, with the PC nature of this country, you're afraid to say anything to anybody without fear of offending them. I don't care. I love everybody. As long as you're a good person, you know what I mean? And you have good values, and you have a good work ethic, and you're a decent human being, and you care about other people. But if you're coming in here to try to change my way of life to suit yours, I'm going to have an issue with that. And I can see, Europe, as these refugees come in, and the fighting and the looting and the vandalism and all these demands. Look at Greece. Did you see videos from Greece?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
On the island of Kos. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And, once that starts happening, it's going to give rise to powers in politics on the extreme sides. You've got the Golden Dawn Party in Greece that is rising in the polls. And Golden Dawn, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, they're essentially Nazis. They're the Nationalist Socialist Party. Same sort of values as, Nazis. And you're seeing these things, far left-wing, communist-type ideologies coming over in Europe. There's a gentleman, I don't remember his name, I don't have his name, but he has a Labour Party in Britain. He has a good chance of winning the prime ministership. He's a far left-wing socialist. And there was a story out with the military, one of the unnamed military leaders said that we just can't have that. We'll make sure that's taken care of. What does that mean? Is there going to be a military coup in Britain? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a day turning like there was a coup in England?
Yeah.
And I can see these things as these governments who don't have the sustainability or the capability of keeping these immigrants and feeding them and clothing them. There's going to be anger amongst the nationals. And that's going to give rise to nationalist-type parties who are going to try to stamp out the opposing force, and that's where you lead into civil strife, civil war. It's a domino effect, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So I hopefully this election coming up is probably the most vital election of our career, of our lifetime, in a generation. We need to have somebody in there that's going to stop this madness, get us back on track of being what America is great about: innovators, builders, manufacturers. Have people care about this country, not just come in here sucking off the teat of the United States of America and the taxpayers. So it's disheartening. I never thought in 10 years ago that we'd be looking at this, but here we are.
Well, that's what hope and change looks like, apparently. you hope it's over soon. You change to something different.
Keep your damn change.
Yeah. Well, apparently we can't keep the change because everything, like our health insurance around the country, keeps going up and up and up. But gas prices are low. But we'll talk about that later, why they're really low, because people need to understand the truth behind economics. All right. So we got.
It's not good.
It's not good. It is not good. Okay. So we got this presidential election. We haven't covered much. Never. I'm just joking. We've covered a lot on the show about the presidential election and what's been going on. Now, we've got two candidates that recently dropped out. Rick Perry last week and Scott Walker this week. Interesting story here, Bill, and I want your take. And, if you're listening live at blogtalkradio.com, pick up the phone. If you're on Periscope, don't drop your phone because we want you to keep on watching us on the video side. But if you're listening to blogtalkradio.com, give us a call and tell us what you think. We would love to hear from you tonight on the program. All right, so Scott Walker is...
I don't know that either.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, Scott Walker is pretty much begging candidates to drop out. Now, I don't know if it's his donors that are begging him as a payback to get out, but I can see why he's doing it. It's a strategy here, Bill. The strategy is if you can get enough people to drop out, they might form a coalition and endorse somebody and try to get Trump out. The establishment, no matter how conservative they seem, like Scott Walker seems like a conservative, nice guy, he is beholden to donors. And I'm not trying to go on the Trump bandwagon here by any means, Bill, but people need to understand that now Trump is the only person that's not getting a bunch of donations from these super PACs, running ads for him, and these big money donors and these bundlers helping these candidates. People need to realize that there is some sort of payback coming for these candidates. They are beholden to the donors. They may say, like Jeb Bush said, I don't need to do what the donors tell me. Well, why in the hell would they give you money to begin with unless they're not going to get something back from you, Jeb? These things are very concerning, Bill. And so when I'm looking at Scott Walker, he's talking about maybe, 5 or more of these candidates to drop out very quickly. But why would they want to drop out? I mean, they've been, they're still in it. They're still getting time on the debate stage. Now, if you cut it down to 5, the top 5 on the debate stage, you may see some of these candidates drop off. But I've seen this recently, Bill, and I'll get your thoughts on it. CNN has, I think, a majority of the debates left. So why would CNN want any of these people to drop off? They need viewership and ad revenue. So what are your thoughts on all this craziness that Scott Walker's trying to get going here?
Well, I think what you're saying about CNN, they would love to have all the candidates in there because, like the last debate, it became like a high school bicker fest back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think drive ratings. It's going to make Republicans get off their message. It's going to lead them to attack each other, which makes great ads for the DNC and the other liberal groups. Scott Walker, when he first announced, he was the front runner. He came out smoking hot. Boom. Then all of a sudden he just lost everything. I don't know what happened to his drive and his passion. I like Scott Walker, but he's not the candidate I would have voted for. Rick Perry, on the other hand, whatever the messages that they have are only going to resonate with certain segment of the population. They're not able to reach across the all the Republican base. There's the hardcore conservative base. There's progressive conservatives. There's a whole wide range of voters in the Republican Party. Same with the Democratic Party as well. And Rick Perry is not going. He would never have been able to touch and do well this election cycle with his voters. Same with Scott Walker. He might have done a great job in Wisconsin, winning 3 elections in a row. Pretty liberal state. Chris Christie, same way. He's Republican governor in a very left-wing state. But they're not going to be able to touch the hearts and minds of everybody. They don't have the passion. They say the right things, but you can tell whenever they say it, they're going off a playbook, a script, and they all sound disingenuous. So it's going to be interesting to see who drops off next. I saw some recent polling. You got Jindal down at 0%. Santorum was at 0. When Santorum last election cycle, he was doing a pretty darn good job. Mm-hmm. So these candidates, they're establishment. Folks don't want establishment, and it's going to be very hard for the top 3 to be knocked off unless something really bad happens or they say something really stupid. I'm a little bit worried about what Carson said on that interview. That's gonna probably affect him, and he'll probably start dropping in the polls. But I know a lot more money has been flowing into Carson's campaign since he made those comments. So that's gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna be it's exciting. I love watching the debates. CNN's debate was a little bit too long though for me. It was 3 hours.
It was 3 hours for the main event, and I think they did an hour and a half maybe for the
hour and a half. That's 4.5 hours of talk. Ugh. But most of it was all bickering back and forth, and they finally started getting substantial policy points in near the end. So hopefully the next debate goes a little bit smoother. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple more candidates do drop out over the next couple weeks.
I think some will drop off, Bill. I honestly think that will happen. But CNN is really hoping that this thing keeps on going. This is a gravy train. You're going to see I know they're going to be there's going to be some complaints about the 3 hours, but I could see at least 2-hour debates coming up, and these debates are terrible. And I'll tell you why. You cannot make these people stand up for around 3+ hours. That's what they were doing pretty much. I mean, bathroom breaks? Not really. I mean, you're going to get like a minute or two commercial break, then you're right back up there. And some of the candidates are even giving it a fair shake. I mean, we know who the candidates are that aren't getting a fair shake. And it's frustrating, Bill, because I think there's some really good candidates up there. Now, they do have their flaws, like every human being has flaws. But every one of them up there, I think, would do a better job than any of the Democrats on that side. By far. They would. It's just, I'm hoping that some of these candidates that know that they don't have a chance just don't stay in to take away from time from the other candidates that are serious, are going to really make a drive to the convention. What do you think?
I agree with you completely. I would like to know, do you know when the first Democratic debate is?
When hell freezes over. I'm just kidding.
I
don't know.
There's,
but I can look it up. I can find it real quick.
But they're not able to talk. They're not talking, and that's exactly what the DNC and the Democratic Party want. They don't want their candidates out there talking. They're enjoying the fact that all the focus is on the Republicans right now. They're able to nitpick, get sound bites, get gaffes, everything like that, and use it against Republicans while they can easily print, broadcast their own propaganda for the Democratic Party. So, the longer they delay it out, I'm sure the Democratic Party and a lot of the DNC are getting a little bit nervous with the way the email situation is going for Hillary. Now, if this drags out another 3, 4, 5 months, and all of a sudden she's perp walked to jail, and she's at that point the front runner, it's going to be a very hard time for the Democrats to win. Bernie Sanders is doing well, and he has the same kind of following as a Ron Paul. He has his base that love Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton, just because she's been in the White House, she's a powerful woman. In the eyes of a lot of the Democratic Party, they would really love to see her in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two do. It'd be interesting to see how the poll results change if Uncle Joe jumps in. And that would be a pretty entertaining debate, having a Trump and Biden going against each other. I would probably pop like 30 bags of popcorn and sit back and watch that one. That's the DVR forever one.
Exactly. Okay, I looked it up, Bill. October 13th, it'll be a Tuesday night. CNN, of course. They dare not go Fox. But I don't know if they were going to have a Fox debate, but CNN, October the 13th, they're going to have that. Then it looks like there's other debates scheduled as well. CBS will have it in Des Moines, Iowa, November 14th. ABC will be in New Hampshire, December 19th. NBC will be in South Carolina, January 17th. And 2 more will be hosted either February or March, one by Univision and the Washington Post in Miami, and another by PBS in Wisconsin. Those 2 dates are to be determined right now. So they're going to have at least 5, but we only have 5 or 6 candidates. It's much easier to manage. Maybe get your vision of a socialistic, communist country across, which they won't do that. I think Bernie, Phil the Burn, would be the one that you would talk about socialism probably, that would be saying, hey, if you give me 90% of your wealth, I can figure it all out. It's like a bad weekend at Bernie's, eventually they're going to have to carry the guy across the stage because he's not breathing anymore. They're the party of old white people. Did you notice that, Bill? People always complain about old white men. Now they got a bunch of old white men and an old white woman. That's all they've got right now, Bill. That's it.
And the Republican Party is a wide range. You got Indian, you got Hispanic, you got an African American, you got a woman. Oh my God, it's like a perfect mix. young, old, and but you never hear about that on the mainstream
Nope,
at all.
sure don't. They demonize them, or they stay away.
Black people.
They stay away from the minorities and the women. Have you noticed that, Bill? They always go attack the old white guys. They never go after women or blacks or Hispanics or the fresh face on the scene, because if they did that, then they would, be labeled as a bigot, and they don't want to be labeled like that in the mainstream media. So they'll. I'm tired of the hypocrisy across the media right now. We talk about this stuff on the show, Bill, because we understand that it's very important that people understand the dynamics that are happening, that people, unless they are totally awake, eyes wide open and understand, and ears wide open too, to understand what's really going on out there in the country right now. The mainstream media, and we say this on the show constantly because if we have new listeners, we need to wake them up all the time. The media does not care about the debates. And you're like, Bill, you probably agree with this. They're probably looking at me on the Periscope and YouTube and listen to Blog Talk Radio thinking, this guy's a complete nut job, this Matthew Brower guy. No. They really, frankly, don't give a damn about what you think. All they care about is ad revenue. That's all they care about. Can they get people to watch their shows? Why do you think CNN had a 3-hour debate? Because they wanted to have the ability to have 3 primetime hours of advertising, knowing that tens of millions of people would be watching. It's like a Super Bowl of politics. They're taking the best hours, selling commercials for 3 or 4 times what they would normally sell for, because, I mean, think about it, Bill. Literally, they're having probably tens of times more viewership than they normally have. They care about money, Bill. The money-grubbing media. That's all they are. Give me your take here. Are they money-grubbing? Is that what they're up to?
They're money-grubbing, and then they go around being hypocrites by saying that Republicans only care about rich people, when everybody in the media, the people that own the media companies, the executives, and even heck, the politicians are all rich. There's not one poor politician up there in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They all have money. And the corporations all have money. And they all sponsor these debates to get more money. So it is all about money, while they turn around, they preach that, America's bad, we don't help people, and we need to tax people more, and there has to be more social programs and things like that. When we are the ones subsidizing their social program of being on the air. And it's just the hypocrisy of that. I agree completely with you on that.
Yeah, and the good thing about this show is we are not beholden to sponsors. And eventually we're going to grow, or we're probably going to get sponsors in the future. And that's going to be great. But the one thing I can guarantee you right now, Bill, and anybody else listening out there, I will continue, and you will too, Bill, and all the other people that work with our show, will continue to share the truth. Share what's on our minds, no matter who would advertise on this show in the future. I can guarantee you right now, on September 23rd, 2015, on the Brower Report, we will always tell you what's on our minds, no matter what happens. That's what we're going to do on this show. This is why this show should be different, Bill, from any other show people listen to. We are not going to be held back by anyone. We're going to use our First Amendment right to free speech in this show every night, and we're going to give you analysis on the issues that you're not going to get anywhere else. I mean, look at it, Bill. And I mean, we could talk about the Chinese economy right now. Tell me, Bill, have I been talking about the Chinese economy for months, how it's been in bad shape? Is that true?
It's horrible.
Okay.
As soon as they start putting the restrictions and everything on the stock market, it's good. It's a sign of things about to go bad when they start putting limits and things like that. So I think China is going to be one of those stories we're going to be talking about for many, many years to come.
Okay. Now, so I've been talking about for months, so that's a true statement. Have I not talked about the stock market going to take a dip? Was that true?
That was true.
Okay. So
we talked about that last month.
Yes, we did. And we've been talking about...
It started dropping.
Yeah, and guess what? We were right.
It dropped.
It dropped. Were we right about the Chinese economy failing? We were right. And what we've done on the show so many times, Bill, and here's the thing. If you're a first-time watcher, first-time listener, we talk about the things that really matter to the American people. We're not going to talk about reality TV, Dancing with the Stars, and all that garbage. This is not that type of show. This type of show is talking about the reality of what's going on in your lives, your pocketbook, your wallet. This is what the show's all about. And we've been talking about for months that the Chinese economy is going to implode on itself. And guess what? It's happening right now. There was, and I'm gonna get the article right now, Bill, because this is huge. Chinese economy. Okay, why China's economic problems may be the worse than we think. And we talked about this too. The Chinese economy, fun fact, and Bill, you know this, and I know this as well, but the listeners may not know this, is a command top-down economy. The Chinese government owns over 50% of whatever business is going on in their country. And the Chinese government hides a lot of things. They don't want everything to come out about their country. But eventually, the chickens do come home to roost. And in this situation, they have in China. The Chinese president's here in the United States on an official visit. He's going to be having dinner with President Obama in the White House. The interesting thing is going to be the conversation that happens before the state dinner, before the cameras, before the cheers, and before all of the happiness and so-called happiness. There's going to be some serious conversations about the debt, the Chinese debt, the treasury bills that the Chinese government holds, which is over $1 trillion. You're also going to be talking about the amount of Chinese workers that are probably losing their jobs right now that are not actually being reported by the mainstream media. Gas prices are directly related to what's happening in China. And people always ask me, how is that? So I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version tonight for everybody. The Chinese factories are slowing down. When the Chinese factories are slowing down, that means they need less fossil fuels, gasoline, diesel to transport and run their factories. Simple, right? Two, exactly, simple. Basic high school stuff. We're talking about stuff that you should be learning in high school, which you're probably not teaching Common Core math. But this would not be in your Common Core math manual, simple economics. So when we look at the demand for Chinese goods are down, it's because the American people are buying as many Chinese goods. And people are like, well, Matthew, you're crazy. I mean, President Obama's been telling me all these wonderful things about the unemployment rate's 5.1%. His press secretary is always talking about how wonderful he is, and how he does these magical things for the American people. Then you realize the 5.1% unemployment rate has been a lie for decades, right, Bill? It's a lie.
It is a lie because it doesn't take into account all the people that have dropped out of the workforce. The 90-something million people are no longer in the workforce. If you put those numbers back in, the real unemployment rate's probably over 10%, 11%.
Oh, it's more than
that.
It's over 20. It's over 20%. We're over 20%.
Obama, who's supposed to 20%, absolutely. You got Obama, who's supposed to be a big champion of minorities. You got these communities in the African American communities in the larger cities. The unemployment rate for young black males, 30-40%.
Yeah, but he was Hope and Change. Remember the Hope and Change thing? That's Hope and Change right there for you. Right there.
So you're standing on the side of the road getting change. That's where you're going to get your money.
You'll be begging for change. Literally.
It's crazy. Okay,
so you mentioned over 90 million people out of work, Bill. That's a fact. Not only that, you mentioned people that are, that lost their unemployment benefits. Fact. Does not include the people that have multiple part-time jobs because they can't get full-time employment. That's a fact. It does not include people that are on SSI, Social Security Disability, because they don't include them. So all these different factors, you're being lied to, folks. 5.1% is a complete, utter lie. if you could, and I'm not trying to say like an info wars thing by any means, but I mean, if you're being lied to, yeah, I'm not Alex Jones, folks. I'm not going to go crazy on you. No, he does have some cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. Once in a while, he has a gem, but the unemployment rate is 5.1% is an utter lie. And here's what I hate more than that, Bill. You've got Republican governors that are touting their unemployment rates that are based off the national employment rate of being lower. Here's the thing. If you want to be screw being a politician, just tell the damn truth to people. It's bad. Because here's the thing. If you don't, that lie that festers for, people that keep, secrets and lies and don't tell the truth for many, many years, and all of a sudden boils up to something where, you lose complete trust in somebody or someone. This lie has been festering for decades, and most people are just like, they just take numbers like 5.1%. The government tells me it's great. I'm moving on. People are getting jobs. But when you start looking around and you talk to people, especially if we have jobs with, contact with the public, we're always hearing these stories of like, I don't have a job. And they're like wondering like, damn, it's 5.1% unemployment. But I keep talking to these people and interacting with people all the time in the public, and I'm like, they don't have jobs. So can someone explain to me again, why am I running into about 20 to 25% unemployment in people that don't work? So the numbers are complete false lie. And that goes back to China for a second. If, China is buying our treasury debt to fund the welfare programs. It's a nasty cycle. This cycle eventually is going to be broken. Someone's going to say, we can't do this anymore. It's either going to be China or it's going to be the United States. And I would rather, do this breakup. And it's really like a breakup. It's like a bad marriage or a bad relationship. Break it off earlier than have, both countries go down, because you have over 1 billion people in China, and probably, over 330 million here in the United States, that are going to suffer the worst. The people that suffer the worst are the middle class and the working poor. That's who's going to suffer. So this marriage needs to end very quickly. And I think if the American people woke up and understood what was going on, then I think we can get this thing turned around. But Bill, do you think the American people can wake up in time? Enough people can wake up in time to turn this thing around?
I pray they do. I think people are understanding there is something wrong going on. I don't know how in tune they are. I talked to a lot of people. Did you see this news story? Oh, no. I mean, it's like a big news story, and nobody understands. They're always watching. Like it said, Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn, whatever her name is, his name. That's all they care about: the instant gratification, the salacious nature, the entertainment. They want to do that. And if you look back in the 1930s, back in Germany, as things start falling apart, or actually probably in the 40s, the parties start ramping up. Pornography started getting increased. Immorality started increasing to get people happy. And as the people got happy, they didn't, really think about all the bad stuff going around them. People being gassed and things of that nature, which, I know a lot did not know, but there's a lot of people in those towns that were just as guilty for not saying anything with what the Nazis were doing. What you're saying about the marriage, the breakup, we do have to do it fast, because if China decides to unleash those treasury bonds back into the market, it's over.
They're going to call it. And here's the thing, Bill. We talked about this on the show before a couple of weeks ago. The Chinese government, and it's worth saying again because the people need to understand why they did it in the first place. They dumped $22 billion worth of treasury bonds a couple weeks ago. Now, you didn't see this on Fox. You didn't see this on MSNBC or CNN. I picked up a little tidbit. Here's what I did. And I'll tell you how I did it, Bill. It's very simple. I went on my iPhone, okay? I looked at the stock market tracker, and they have news articles. So I picked up this news article, and I apologize. I did share it before, but I can't remember the exact website, but it was legitimate. And they reported $22 billion worth of U.S. Treasury bonds were cashed in. so the Chinese governments could give the money to the banks to loan to hedge fund managers to buy stock and hold on to it. If that's not crony capitalism at its finest, to prop up your stock market because you're scared to death of it crashing, that's wrong. And let me give you some basis on this for everybody that's watching and listening, because you need to understand what's really going on here. The Chinese government several months back were arresting hedge fund managers, literally arresting them because they were day trading. What they were doing is they were actually buying IPOs, initial public offerings. They're buying hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars worth of IPOs in China, because a lot of these companies are trying to get funded. So they bought, say, shares at $20 a share. They ran them up to 100, then they dumped them on the market. And guess who got screwed? The Chinese middle class and international investors were getting screwed over. So the Chinese government said, you can't do this anymore. We're going to start arresting people. Now, I don't know if they had a law in the books or the Chinese government's just crazy and lunatics. They could be that as well. So they were locking up hedge fund managers, and guess who they go to when they need help? They go back to hedge fund managers to buy stock, but this time they told them, you cannot sell the stock. You must hold on to the stock until we say that you can start selling it. That's when you're trying to prop up a house of cards. Folks, if you are an internet, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm trying to spell this out for the folks tonight, Bill. And I'm going to say that again. I am not a financial advisor, but I'm telling you right now, we have talked about this for months on the show. The Chinese stock market is a ticking damn time bomb. Go to your 401ks, go to international stock funds, look at the damn numbers. Look at the numbers, 20 to 25% down. Their market is down 25% this year alone. If you are in that market still, you need to look at your 401k because you're not paying attention. You need to be paying attention to
what's went up.
You were out of the international stock fund. Come on, Bill.
Yeah.
You ran from it.
Changed everything about a month and a half ago, and
Yeah.
I've actually made money.
Exactly. So we talked about this. We talked about this with our friends and family. We knew something was going on. When you start getting the facts, you start thinking, man, something bad is going on here. Something doesn't smell right. When you see people getting arrested in foreign countries, then they are told to, hey, help us out because we need some help now. That is scary stuff. And you do not want to deal with companies in countries like that. And if you are dealing in international stock funds, you really need to see what's going on with these countries. Look at Volkswagen, Bill. Do you hear about Volkswagen this week?
Oh, they're falling apart.
You know why they're falling apart, right?
Yeah, with the emissions scam with the computer not reflecting the true emission rate of their cars.
Yes, and here's the scary part. They programmed these computers in these cars when they were hooked up to these government agencies. They actually switched to the better emission standard. So these cars, the software was fully aware. The people were fully aware what they were programming in these cars. So now you've got, I think, 11 million diesel cars on the road around the world that do not meet the emission standards. The stock for Volkswagen, folks, is traded on the German exchange, the DAX, D-A-X, is down in 2 days this week, 35%. They're facing tens of billions of dollars in fines right now. And that's just partially in the United States. And they've struggled in the United States. And I think they're struggling and they're trying to figure a way to meet the CAFE standards for miles per gallon. And they were doing it in a shady way. And I think, from what I read earlier, I think someone shared it on social media on my Facebook feed, which is very interesting. The culprit that may have ratted them out, Bill, was Toyota. And Toyota makes one of the worst environmentally safe cars, the Toyota Prius. That's just the irony of it all. The corporate espionage, the company that makes probably the worst car for the environment, the Prius, because of its battery system, they are the one that ratted out Volkswagen. That's pretty funny stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, how the markets go today. After yesterday, looking at the Asian markets from yesterday.
Oh, it was brutal.
I think China is opening up in about an hour, 9 o'clock, 9 or 10 o'clock. They should be opening up. Japan should be opening up soon. So going to be interesting to see how if it falls, what it's going to do. Europe actually had a good day yesterday.
Yeah, it had a decent day. The DAX was up. The FTSE, which is the English market, was up. But I was up late last night. I'm a kind of a night owl sometimes, depends on the night. And about 12:30 last night, I shared that with some of us from the show. The Chinese market was down over 600 points. You know, that when you see ups and downs like that, you know the market is very volatile, very volatile. But let's go to another story. Let's talk about a story that's very interesting.
One more thing. The Nikkei's down 299 right now.
Oh, that the Japanese market's down 299. This is not good. This is not good, folks.
No.
And I'm begging you. I'm not saying. And here's the thing about this, Bill. We don't tell people what to do. We will say, hey, here's what we see. Here's what's going on. You make your decision. We're not telling you what to do. We're not the federal government. We're not telling you what to do. But at the same time, we're not trying to scare you. But sometimes you need the facts. You need to make your reaction. Don't sit on the sidelines and wait for a tragedy to happen like it happened in 08 and 09. Don't wait for it. Be more proactive in what you're doing, especially in investing. Because trust me, Social Security, if you think it's going to be around about 30 years, you might as well just, you're smoking something. But we're getting close to the end of the show, so let's talk about the next thing, Bill. The kiss cam, Syracuse, New York. Apparently, someone got offended by people kissing again on a kiss cam. They're saying women shouldn't be forced to kiss men, blah, blah, blah. Bill, is this another PC thing, or is this another thing to get us talking about something because there's something major coming out in the next news cycle?
It could be both. It's the PC nature of everything right now. People are so afraid to, you're sitting there with your girlfriend, your wife, you kiss them. Now what's the big deal? What they're saying, I know from Syracuse, that on the video there's people pushing the guys away. Now, if there's like an assault going on, yeah, I mean, that stuff is going to be unacceptable. But if it's like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, the kiss cam is a kiss cam. It's been around for a long time. I heard there's a major league team that is getting rid of it as well. I can't remember who or where it's at. But it's just another thing to distract people, to get people talking, to push the agenda of somebody who might be offended, one person out of a million, and push the agenda down on the rest of the people. So I thought it was a ridiculous story. Another
ridiculous story. And you know what? This story comes out as soon as the Pope visits the United States, and we have all these things going on here. So this might be the distraction story, but, it was so crazy and ridiculous we had to talk about it tonight on the show. We're a few minutes away from the end of the show tonight, and we're going to the feel-good story of the night. Before we go, Bill, I want to say thanks again, Bill, for being a part of the program tonight, and we will talk to you very soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, guys.
All right. That's Bill Silberg, everyone, our co-host of the Brower Report on the Wednesday night edition of the show. We appreciate all the things that he does for the show. And we will also say a big thank you to Tyson that is doing our graphics. We greatly appreciate him and his efforts to continue to help the Brower Report grow and to educate the people out there. We appreciate all of his support as well. The feel-good story of the night, because you know why, folks? Because the people demand the feel-good story. Because after we talk about so many things on the show, you deserve a feel-good story. We've shared this on the Facebook page, so go to the Facebook page. We'd love to see you there. Facebook.com/Brower Report. We're going to be sharing it across Facebook tonight. So when you see it, like it and share it, because it's a really good feel-good story. On July 3rd, 2011, Memphis police officer Timothy Warren was shot and killed in the line of duty while responding to a domestic disturbance. A group of officers answered the call for 8-year-old Jewel Warren, the daughter of Timothy Warren, when she needed a date to her father-daughter dance at her school. Folks, those police officers did not have to do that. They didn't have to. But you know what? They did it because they care. Now, they probably were not looking for recognition or anything like that. They were just looking out for a daughter of one of their fallen comrades. So what they cared about. We need more of this in this country. We need more good people to start stepping up and just doing the right thing. And if you're watching me, I mean, I'm tearing up a little bit if you're watching the Periscope or the YouTube. This is something that it's heartbreaking and redeeming at the same time. I could never imagine not being there for my daughter. I couldn't. It's tough. Just the thought of it's very tough. So these officers said, you know, we're going to step up. Not only one of us going to show up, but I think it was the picture going to show 6 of them showed up. Full uniform, supporting her at a father-daughter dance. This is what America's about, doing the right thing. Helping a child that needs love. She lost her father. She lost, you know, daddies and daughters, they spend time together. They do special things together. They have a special bond, like mothers and sons, you know. Fathers and daughters have a special bond. And she lost her father at a much too young age. Anytime you lose any relative, especially a parent, it's very tough. But she lost her father to a violent crime. Violence. So you're going to see these officers and this girl. She looks like she's very happy. And I wish, you know, her the best. You know, Jewel Warren, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. For the officers that stepped up and did the right thing, you know, God bless them. God bless them all. Really, really, truly. Heartbreaking and redeeming at the same time, just like I said. Remember, folks, we're live Tuesday through Thursday, live 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Brown Report Radio Show. Make sure you like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Brown Report. We are your home of news and views that you can use, because we're looking out for you, the American people. You will hear things and see things on the program that you will not see or hear anywhere else, because we are not beholden by the media. We are not trying to get millions of dollars of advertising revenue because we're trying to be funny or slick. We will be funny. we will be educational, but we will not be slick. That is not what the Brown Report's all about. So thanks again to Bill for co-hosting tonight. Thanks again to Tyson doing the graphics for the Brown Report radio show. We greatly appreciate it. And we thank you, the listeners and the watchers of the program. We appreciate all of you out there. And make sure to tell your friends and family about the show. Follow us on Periscope at Brown Report, YouTube, search out Brown Report, and blogtalkradio.com/Brown Report. Like I said, we are your home of news and views that you can use, because we're looking out for you, the American people. Remember, folks, we'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. New time, same bat channel, different bat time. Thanks again for watching and listening. Good night.